Kavet. You're listening to ALANUI MELE on PBS Hawaii.
So this is Meso, and you're listening to ALANUI MELE on PBS Hawaii. Peace.
Listen up, this is Danny One, and you're listening to Hawaiʻi Hip-Hop History via ALANUI MELE on PBS Hawaii. Check it out.
If there was one important figure in Hawaiʻi hip-hop that connected the generations of hip-hop, it would be this man, who has opened doors for a grip of MCs, DJs, and artists. While very few are able to navigate the trappings of mainstream with integrity, all the while mobbing around the underground with the boom bap heads. A creative mastermind who helped Tasho Pierce shape Flip the Bird, which is considered one of Hawaii's groundbreaking clothing companies. This man also the founder of Hawaii's longest running real hip-hop radio show, Mind Tactics, with co-host Size One, what up Size? A member of High State Fam, a father, a son, an all-around stand-up figure whose passion for life is infectious. This is James Mora, a.k.a. my homie, DJ Jimmy Taco.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's
I'm
up,
about
Tox?
to tear up, bro. The hell?
Hey, you
Off
know,
the jump, we couldn't even get like 5 minutes into it, and I'm like tearing from the jump.
nah, dude, nah. I mean, you know, with ALANUI MELE, which basically translates to Alanui Street Mele music, is Hawaiʻi hip-hop history. So I'm just trying to dig, look for stories, excavate, you know what I mean?
Right,
All
right.
this stuff. So one of the few people that came to mind first was, I got to get Taco, because you're one of the few that was able to bridge the mainstream, underground, independent hip-hop in Hawaii. Right? And like I said in the intro, you're able to bring in and open doors for a lot of us. What makes you, what drives you to do those kind of things?
It's just life, man. I guess just my passion for life, me loving to have a good time and wanting to see everybody have a good time doing, everything, you know?
Yeah. So when you first found hip hop, was that in LA or was that in the Big Island?
In LA, as a kid growing up in Wilmington, I grew up in Wilmington, which is a LA Harbor area, Long Beach, Carson, San Pedro area.
Dodgers fan?
Dodgers fan, Lakers fan.
Okay.
Born into being a Rams fan.
Okay.
And then the Rams left LA.
Right.
And I became a Raiders fan when the
Nice.
Raiders moved to LA, and still to this day.
So you're Vegas Raiders now.
Vegas, I just
default.
Raiders.
Just Raiders.
You never know. We might move to Pittsburgh like in a year and a half.
So then
Who
it
knows?
was in LA then. You pretty much started like the foundation for your hip hop.
Yeah, which is crazy is I used to play video games at this bowling alley in Wilmington.
Oh, nice.
And this dude that used to come in and would like teach me how to play Pac-Man and asteroids and stuff. He's like a LA legend. Like I didn't know who dude was when I was a kid.
Right.
But his name is Michael Chambers, like Boogaloo Shrimp.
Oh.
And like he taught me like all these patterns on Pac-Man. And I was like, yo.
So
like,
nothing to do with popping or locking.
nothing to do with popping and locking. And then on the side, he would be doing like, you know, he'd be tutting or he'd be doing whatever. And I'd be like, just watching. And like,
Wait, quick fast. Explain who Boogaloo Shrimp is. In
Boogaloo
hip-hop.
Shrimp, I mean, for those that don't know, I mean, Michael Boogaloo Shrimp Chambers is like a legend in the dance community from Los Angeles. He was part of the duo trio that was Breaking, the movie Breaking 1, Breaking 2.
Ozone, Turbo, and
Ozone
Kelly.
and Turbo, yeah. Yeah, legendary Turbo was Michael Boogaloo Shrimp Chambers.
Nice. So he was teaching you.
He didn't
not even teach
so
you.
I'm not
any-
going to say like this is what you do. I'm like watching him.
Right.
So I'm like, you know, wow, that's like
Right.
how do you do that? And I'd go home and like try to do that. And my dad would be like, "The hell are you doing? You go smoke with your friends today?" And I'd be like, "No, it's like this is how these kids dance." And
What year was that?
I would say like 78,
Okay.
79 before we moved. Maybe like I was like 9 or 10 actually. So maybe like right before 80.
Okay.
Right before we moved. I moved to Hawaii in 83. So
83.
yeah.
So when you moved to Hawaii, what was the reason for your family to move to Hawaii? And then what was the reason them moving to the Big Island?
So my uncle that first moved here used to live in like Punaluu area here. Moved to the Big Island because land was cheap in Kaʻu.
Right.
Like you can buy an acre of land for like $7,000.
Ooh.
And then my uncle knew about these kit homes that you could buy from Oregon, I believe, or Washington.
Well, Ponderosa Pines.
But it was like it would come in, yes, it would come in a container with all your plans how to build your home.
Oh,
So my parents ended up building the house and the acre of land for like 80 grand.
wow. This is in Kaʻu.
In Kaʻu in like 83, 84, something like that. We ended up, the house was almost finished. The house was like finished when I graduated. So
Right. Oh, wow.
the first year and a half, 2 years, first summer, we moved here in 83, and my dad hired a contractor, and we built the shell of the house, roofed, closed everything up, and then my mom came over like after the summer when that was all done.
Well, that's crazy. How was the transition from LA to
From LA to Kaʻu,
Yeah.
Ocean View was like crazy. Like Ocean View, like our nearest neighbor was like half a block away, so we lived like in the boonies up of the hill. You know what I mean? And now there's like neighbors across the street, next door.
You guys still own that
We
land?
still own the land,
Nice.
still own the house. Trying to get my mom to sell it and move here.
Okay.
As much as it hurts to.
But you don't want to move there?
I would love to if I had like an endless amount of wealth and to sit
Right,
there
right,
and
right,
like
right.
I have money that can cover everything I need for the rest of my life. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So when you're up in Kaʻu, you went to what schools did you go to, and then did you
I went
experience
to-
any hip hop?
I went to
Yeah.
Na'alehu Elementary for 1 year, 8th grade, and I went to Kaʻu High School from 9th grade to graduation.
And were you like the sore thumb, like that one kid that was like different?
Yes, like when I first came, like I had like my checkered Vans from Vans. Like all I
Hey,
wore was Vans back in the day.
California, yep.
California kid, it's always Vans. I'd tell my auntie, "Can you send me a new pair of Vans this week or this for this school year or
She had
whatever?"
to send you Van.
She would send me Vans, and then I remember I think like Liberty House back then in Kona would be the only place I think that sold at one point.
Vans.
I forget where else we would buy Vans.
Was there
at.
anybody else at that time that you knew of that listened to hip hop, knew what hip hop was?
Some people did, but like most of the like local kids would listen to like Capena's first album was out like then,
Yeah,
and like
that's a jam.
yeah, Heinzke, Word Up to Heinzke. Was Heinzke on the second album or first? I forget, but yeah,
So you graduated from
Kaʻu High School,
wow.
and then
So why do you think people think that you're actually from LA?
I mean
I mean, you are from there, but
I
people
represent LA pretty hard. I mean, with
yeah.
as much as I represent
Yeah.
Hawaii, like I was a Dodger fan and Laker fan, and maybe I don't represent the Lakers as much as I used to,
Right,
but
right.
I mean,
it's okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay.
So the transition from graduating high school in the Big Island to University of Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
You went to
I went to the University of Hawaii COP program. I don't know if you've ever heard of
what
that.
is a COP?
It's College Opportunities Program for kids that may not have the right grades or SAT scores to get into college. And I would always be involved in like summertime. Prior to that, I was always involved in like these summertime college programs. My mom didn't want me like, running the crazy back roads of Kaʻu all day long or surfing all day. So she'd put me in these summer programs where I actually came to UH like 2 summers prior
Wow.
to do, whether it would be acting, like I used to be into acting in high school
nice.
and speech and drama and stuff like that. So I went to some speech things, some drama things, and then I went to I think my last summer before college, I went to a like a news writing thing at UH, and then I ended up getting accepted to the COP program, and that was you start college 6 weeks before school starts.
So you were here early.
Or actually, like, I went to COP, did the program, flew to LA for my cousin's wedding,
Right.
and flew back and started UH my freshman year.
In that transition, were you already like, I'm gonna go seek out? Were you like, I'm gonna find DJ gigs? I'm gonna start DJing?
No, like I was still dancing, like still like I wanted to be like a b-boy, and I loved music, but never was really into DJing.
Oh, so your the element that you started with first was
Dance. Yeah.
Straight
I started
up.
with dance, and one of my friends, Ryan Kalahiki, had 2 turntables.
Okay.
And he had them in his dorm room, and I was like, oh, this is dope. He's like, yeah, you got to learn. And I started practicing it on his stuff, and one was like a belt drive turntable,
Was it a Gemini?
a Gemini belt. I don't know.
BD XL10 or something?
He had a realistic mixer.
Okay.
And
dude,
then he had like one Techniques. I want to say it was a SLD2 because I think
Wow.
my dad had the same turntable,
Okay.
which was a direct drive.
Right.
And I learned from that. I was
Did
like,
he ever start DJing out or have
No,
ever
like
known as
Ryan-
anything else?
Ryan ended up becoming a police officer
Oh, nice.
who just actually just retired, like
Hey.
I believe last year or just recently. Yeah.
So you were matched up with him straight up in the dorms.
Well, Ryan was like my best friend. We'd go Sandy's. We'd go.
Oh, but you knew him in the Big Island, or he was
I knew
already-
him from here, from COP.
Oh,
so
from
we met in
COP,
COP
okay.
and we became friends.
But did you know he had turntables?
No, like I didn't know he had turntables until the first winter break.
Right.
I ended up staying with him and his family in Aikai Park, and I lived with them until it was time to go back to school. 'Cause I couldn't fly back to the Big Island at that time, and stayed with them. And he had turntables in his room, and we'd mess
Do you remember
around.
what records that you first started mixing with? That he had, or maybe you bought? What was the first records you copped? Off the top of the dome. Do you remember?
Off the top of the dome, the first record I
Yeah.
ever remember buying, I was a young kid,
Okay.
like back in LA, and I remember buying Oingo Boingo, like something Lad. What is it? Only a Lad.
Wow.
And like I've always been a fan of
Boingo Boingo.
Oingo Boingo and Homie's production, Danny Elfman.
Oh, wow.
So Danny Elfman, like from Oingo Boingo days, he's like music, movie
Composer,
scores,
yeah.
composer, amazing. And anything that has his score on it, I'm like, I gotta watch it, no matter who the actors are.
For the music.
Yeah.
So Oingo Boingo was your first record. What hip hop record? Do you remember?
That's hard. I remember the first hip hop cassette I bought
Okay.
was like Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Oh, nice.
He's the DJ, I'm the rapper.
And that was at where?
That was in Hilo at this little record store that we used to go to. I forget what the name of the little strip mall was, but we'd always go and eat dinner and like in this like little Japanese restaurant on the corner in there, and then the record store was outside, like right on the corner.
So Hilo would be considered the Honolulu of the Big Island, technically, right?
Yeah.
So was there any MCs, DJs, B-boys, writers
Back then,
that you experienced in Hilo?
the only person that I really remember was when I was in high school. We had this guy that would come to do our dances.
Okay.
And his name was the Rappin' Sergeant Brown. And he'd be this guy.
That's
that
the
was
80s for sure.
like, right. He was like,
Rappin', Sergeant Brown.
yeah, he would be like, he would like do his like little rap while he would be DJing, you know, and in between songs and breaks, he would rap over them. But he was like, I guess, based out at the Kilauea military camp right there.
Okay.
So, you know, that's next to Kaʻu and
Yeah.
basically in Kaʻu. And he would just drive over and do our dances. And that was kind of like, I was like, oh, this dude is kind of dope. Like, I'd like to do that and rock parties. And
Were you too busy dancing?
yeah, I was always trying to get with
Did you
the
have a
girls.
crew?
And
Did you have a crew up in the Big Island? Or even when you moved to Oahu?
when my
Did
friend
you get
in
down
high
with
school,
anybody?
not really. I mean, I would go to all those Betty Moy dances back in the day and just like kind of watch everybody.
Right,
and
right.
like
What is that? What is that?
Betty Moy used to throw like a lot of, Betty Moy was a woman's name.
Okay.
And she would throw all these like dances.
Is this
and-
on Oahu or Big Island?
Here.
Oh, here.
At
okay.
like Aloha Tower. Like
Oh,
Joho
okay.
would DJ.
Okay, shout out to Joho.
Yeah, Joho and DJ Dream, Kevin
Okay.
Nakasone. They would like,
Oh.
Elite, like
Yeah.
all of them, Spaz, they would all DJ these, you know, things.
And you weren't DJing back then?
No,
Wow, so you were just,
a
were
fan.
you even Jimmy Taco?
No,
What was-
I was James Mora, just like,
The popper locker dancer guy.
yeah. I never really had like a B-boy name other than James or, you know, like nothing. I was always just kind of like,
Right.
yeah.
So you'd go to these parties and just
I go
jump
to these
in
parties and like dance and do my thing and
for girls. And,
yeah, break out. And then I had a girlfriend and we'd go to the dances together and go home and whatever. But
So do you remember your first DJ gig? Where was it at?
my first DJ gig here was in a dorm room at UH in the apartments.
And what did you play for that party?
I DJ'd at that time. I started DJing with this guy J Love.
Okay.
So J Love, if you know, back in the day, used to do all of the swap meet mixtapes
Yep.
and T-shirts, and J Love did that, and Roscoe was his partner. Roscoe went on and did his thing. So I used to do a lot of stuff with them back then. So J Love and I did this party because I had equipment and I had speakers. He actually got hired but hired me to help him and do everything.
At the UH dorms.
Yeah.
Wow.
2 speakers in a dorm room, amp and turntables and a mixer, and carried everything.
It's like Beach Street then.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. But we had an outlet, actually. We didn't have to tie into the pole.
Tied into the pole. So when you were there at UH, did you meet anybody that was going to UH at the time that was into anything of hip hop?
I didn't meet East then, but East was doing like a lot of stuff on campus. This was 88.
88, okay.
Yeah, 88, 89 was my freshman year.
Right.
Yeah. Along the way, I've been a surf kid, like all of my, from growing up in LA to moving here, and I would surf more than I would like DJ.
Oh, okay.
I used to work at HIC, and I mean, I loved going to UH, but I got suspended because I was surfing too much. Like, oh, there's waves. I got to go to the North Shore. Let's go. Sorry.
So who do you consider that opened the door for you for as in your hip hop career, DJing wise, here in Hawaii?
Here in Hawaii?
Is there any figures in your head or people that you contribute? Like, yeah, if it wasn't for so and so or this and that, then let me get gear.
I would say my biggest thing was getting on radio to like, you know, get open doors for me, because I would do small parties here and there. I mean, I worked at Duran Sound.
Okay.
So Duran Sound was like what you would say would be our guitar center or, you know, professional audio stuff then. So that kind of opened a lot of doors for me, from installing lights and sound systems in nightclubs and filling in for DJs here and there. Daniel J was probably one of the first people to ever give me a club job.
Wow.
Rest in peace. But yeah, so Daniel J got me this little gig in a room probably the size of this. It was called the Upper Sanctum of Pink's Garage.
Wow, okay.
And you would get in through this little door that was like the size
and
of...
he got you to spin in hip-hop.
Yeah. So, because it was like a house and you know, like a rave club.
Yeah, because that was across of Wave, right?
That was across of the Blaisdell.
The Blaisdell. Oh, okay.
That was like on the back street. They had Pink Cadillac.
Oh, Cadillac. Okay,
Cadillac was their main club.
Yeah.
And this was like their industrial club that they would do concerts at and other shows, other live shows.
Did it turn to something else later?
No, after that it was just...
There was a club right across of...
Across the street there was something.
From Blaisdell.
Yeah, there was like another warehouse club in front of them and then another one down the block.
Right.
Back then.
I think that was the first time I ever went to like a club / rave. It was the one right across of the Blaisdell. I forget what it was though. And I was just tripping out because I've never experienced anything like that.
Right.
I was like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, bro, I was in a little room. Like, I'd have to crawl through this little door and like bring in my turntables and mixer and my records. It was like a pain in the butt just to get there to make $50 for the night to play for.
Was that the whole night?
That was a whole night. $50.
Well, Daniel J. Hey, livicated to Daniel J. Bro.
Yeah.
He did a lot for
DJ
music scene in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, he definitely down for hip hop.
All genres of music.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would play.
Yeah. I mean, would you consider him? I mean, for me, it was G-Spot put me on for the raves. So I would always do the hip hop rooms. I mean, and Daniel J did the same for a lot of people. And that was what was that, 90? When had hip hop rooms? Remember, there used to be hip hop rooms, there's house rooms, trance rooms.
Right.
Yeah. So Daniel J was a big part of that. I think, because G-Spot came from the main.
Daniel J, G-Spot. There's a lot of people that did a lot of those shows back. Well, Daniel J and G-Spot did a lot of shows together, so that brought us all together.
Yeah, that was cool because you had every genre of music.
Yeah.
And that's how I got turned on to a lot of drum and bass.
Right.
Trance, house, techno.
Right.
And then the various genres of drum and bass.
Subgenres
of stuff. And I'll just bug out, right? I'll be like, okay, I'm back to the hip hop room. And DJ. But it was dope because you got to meet a lot of other people and we all got to appreciate each other.
Right.
You know? More or less now it's just at clubs it's just one type of music.
Yeah, it depends on like kind of what DJs you see. Like some DJs, I try to do like as much open format stuff as I can to play anything from reggae to hip hop to dance music to pop music to EDM stuff or whatever. I mean, you got to please everybody that's in the crowd.
So what crews did you link up with or click up with coming out of college?
Coming out of college,
or in college?
In college, it was still pretty much just me, but like the first crew that I really like linked up with was like Danny One, like
So was this before the A-side?
Danny One and I had known each other before A-side.
Tell us who Danny One is.
So Danny One is probably another one of the very influential people in Hawaiʻi hip-hop. I mean, he's a DJ, producer, been along for a long time. He got really into drum and bass DJing, and but he's the first guy to ever help me.
Homegrown Massive.
High State.
Yeah.
He's one of the first people to ever help me make a record. You know what I mean? Teach me how to produce, teach me how to record, and it was like on 4 tracks. And
Danny One is just like you, because Danny One, for me myself, it was Danny One, Jamal, and DMFD, and then G Spot and G Dog. Those 5 technically that kind of opened the doors for me to be where I'm at. There would be no light sleepers technically if it wasn't for them. I mean, I had a radio show, but those 5 figures really like G Dog. Let me spin it 1739.
Yeah,
and that was a shock because it was like
1739 was a trip back then.
Pimps and hustlers and very
everybody got
women.
together in one little house. Basically, it was like you'd go in there and there was like all these little rooms of everything.
And then that's when Flash was running it, which is crazy, right? But the
Flash, and I can't remember homegirl's name, but
I forget who that was.
Yeah.
But then Flash went to the wave and he brought everybody over.
Yeah.
But so A Side and Danny One, you kind of, is that the same time?
Around the same time. So like my homie JP,
right,
who does PR now and does a bunch of stuff, still DJ'd. Him and I knew each other from, he was one of the drummers and DJ for Navai Oke Anui Nui.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And
Lena Girl, right?
Lena Girl, yeah.
I'll come in grads this way.
Right. And they used to come and practice at the Duran Sound Warehouse.
Okay.
The Duran Sound Warehouse, I had my turntable set up, and he was always there with the band. And one of the guys also in the group, Brian Chang, ended up being a DJ as well.
He's a musician. He's a musician.
So Brian Chang is the son of John Chang, and he produced like Peter Moon Band and like all these other groups way back in the day. So he had a recording studio out in Waianae. He recorded Navai, and as far as I remember, and they would come and rehearse in our studio. And that's how me and JP got together, and we ended up talking about having a group together. We should do a group, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, you guys can rap, I'll DJ, and started from there with it was me, JP, and this other guy, Tony A.
Okay.
Tony was from Palolo, Samoan kid, and Tony ended up not wanting to be in the group anymore. He had other things he wanted to do, help his family, and did his thing. And then we brought in Spaz's brother, Chili Chill.
Okay.
And then we brought in Mr. Chris also, and we had like 4 people in the group.
Yeah, I've looked at old YouTube videos of it, and I was like, wow, that was definitely an era.
We were like the.
What would you call A-side? I mean, I always bring it up to you. Because I'm fascinated with Hawaiʻi hip hop history. Not only the like what you could say like the cool side of it all, but I want to all these small groups. I feel is integral because you just named X amount of people, and all Peter Moon Band came out, right?
Yeah.
JP, he's did his thing in the music. All those people are huge in Hawaii music.
Right.
And somehow they're recording Navai, but they're hip hop heads, right?
Right.
And then you're there practicing at Durant, and you guys linked up. So to me, it always makes sense that, even though we're all over the place, hip hop brought us together. And, and even though they might not be actively a name in Hawaii hip hop, you know what I mean? I like to always bring it up like, hey, you guys ever heard of A-Side?
So, A-Side, it's funny, A-Side just came up like the other day. JP was like, I was at my mom's house and I found this old picture and sent me a picture of our group back in the day.
So you're going to give that to me for this?
I'm definitely going to give it to you. That'll be like over here.
That's right.
We have some other pictures that are hilarious.
Okay.
We were, to me, thinking of it now, we were like borderline like a hip hop boy band, bro. Like
you guys had the full dance moves.
They had dance moves. I mean, thank God I was behind the turntables because at that time I started to get chunky and I was like, I ain't dancing.
No, but the funny part is that era of hip hop, dancing was part of it.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Yes,
like
the Scoop and Scrap Lover, like
late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah.
MCs danced, and they had dancers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had dancers. We had a group. Brian Chang that I just mentioned earlier. He ended up being DJ Good Vibe.
Oh,
so he was like one of our dancers.
Yeah.
This kid Gil Doodleau ended up being Janet
yeah.
Jackson's dancer.
Yep, there you go.
Um,
I know his brother Ralph really well. You know Ralph?
yeah.
Shout out to
yeah,
Ralph.
and then man, we had so many amazing dancers that were with us.
So that's what I mean. Just in A-side alone, the amount of movers and shakers and people in that are influential in Hawaii hip hop, whether they like it or they know it or not, it's huge. Just on that one
Spaz
crew.
ended up being our manager for a while.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
Shout out to Spaz.
Yeah.
So how did that dissolve? And then you started getting more into like, because that was pretty much like, it wasn't even, back then hip hop wasn't mainstream. What would you consider hip hop at that time in the early 80s and 90s for Hawaii?
For Hawaii, I mean, to me, everything was hip hop. You know what I mean? Like, it was music, dance, life, everything, you know? But I guess back then, the pop music was, you know, hip hop.
Right.
It was our, you know, R&B crossed over to being part of hip hop as well. And I don't know what I'm trying to get at, but it's kind of everything. I didn't really see pop music as pop music.
Right.
Because what I was listening for, like, was hip hop, you know? And like now.
They played De La Soul. I remember playing De La Soul, Me, Myself, Fire on the radio.
Yeah.
And that was mainstream.
Yeah. That was probably one of the most mainstream songs at the time, you know what I mean? And then being able to work at KIKI for, you know, when it was cool to have like hip hop music on air.
Right.
Yeah. That was a good thing.
And so that kind of just dissolved the A-side thing, and then you started hanging out with more.
So
of the
Jay and I started,
homegrown-
I mean, I started hanging out more with Homegrown Massive and, you know, listening to Danny and trying to learn production
Who's
from
in
him.
Homegrown Massive? Danny
Danny
one?
was, Jamal was part of that.
Right.
Um,
Jay, he's up in the mainland now. He DJs. Is he part of Homegrown Massive?
Which
I think
Jay?
he spins at the strip club.
Chris J.
Chris J. Yeah.
Yes. Chris J and Laiku was always like a part of, you know,
Can I
music.
say that at PBS strip club?
Yeah. I mean,
I'll edit it out.
at a gentleman's club.
Gentlemen's club.
Man.
So you weren't
Big
part
Wayne.
of it. You're just
Yeah. Big Wayne.
crewed up with those guys.
Stan. One Night Stan.
Stan.
I remember. So I have my first radio show I did. I have this intro
Right.
that they did for me. I wanted to call it Sports Night.
Right.
Because back in LA when I was a kid, our dances used to be called Sports Night. And, you know, dancing, music, hip hop.
So this
whatever.
first radio show was on what station?
It was
and
what I
year
pitched.
Was that?
It was what I pitched to I-94 back in the day as a hip hop show to be late night, you know.
Yeah.
And it was called Sports Night. And Stan and Wayne did my intro. And my God, like I gotta find it like somewhere. But it was like such a dope. And
So
Danny
Wayne,
did the beat.
Wayne, what did he go under any MC name? Wayne?
Wayne, Trans,
MC Trans.
MC Trans.
So real quick for people that know, MC Trans. See, I'm a little later in the '90s, so I mean I met One Night Stan. Shout out to Stan. But Trans was always like a ghost to me, right? Like MC Trans. So explain to
Trans
us who
wasn't
MC
like a guy
Trans.
that would go out all the time or do, you know. Trans would be like in the studio with his family, he had kids, and doing his thing and doing music. And Danny was like the DJ, Trans was the MC. That was like,
Wow.
to me, that was like our headliners of our crew. You know what I mean? Because Danny had the dope beats. Trans
Like
was
the
just
premiering guru, I guess you could say.
the premiering guru of
Wow.
high state
How
hip
did
hop.
Trans pass?
Motorcycle accident.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So One Night Stand was crew, but he wasn't. It was more like Danny Trans,
Danny, Trans, Woes.
Primo Guru.
You know,
Okay.
Aaron was a part of that before he, you know, really. I mean, I'm sure he was always an artist.
Right.
But before that, he was Timer.
Timer Wolves.
Yeah.
So Timer Wolves used to hang around with Homegrown as
Yeah.
well.
I even have Timer on a verse like from back in the day.
But with or without Philly? Probably without, right?
I kind of want to say without,
Right.
but I mean, I remember Philly from back in the day, kind of not as well as I remember.
Wow. So
Yeah.
Wolves, aka Timer, was down with Homegrown back then.
For a minute, yeah. I mean, they would hang out in our
Right.
studio, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, at that point, me and Danny One had a studio in Mapunapuna,
Okay.
in the back of Duran Sound.
Okay.
Min One would hang out, and
DJ Min now is DJing on
Min-
what station now
he's on Power 104.3, I believe.
Shout out to DJ Min.
Yeah.
He's a big figure for me, a
Yeah.
huge DJ. Went to New York, did his thing, came back home. So
promotions guy for whatchamacallit in New York for Hot 97 for years. He was like their main promotions dude.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Shout out to DJ Min. I love that guy. He's gonna get on it. But so then Homegrown Massive. So did High State that you know of kind of evolve from that?
Yeah, High State kind of like, evolved from that.
What is High State?
High State would be Taji, Tasho, well, Immerse back then. Prior to that, Akira 8 when I first met him. Gijo, Size 1, Aaron, which is Ha'o, Malala, Moon.
Right.
They
also had they had the Sixth Sense guys.
Yes.
Romeo and Scott.
Yes.
Those are all Kapalulu guys, so I grew up with those guys.
Rome's, yeah.
But it's funny because we grew up together, but back then you ever notice that you grew up with people, but you never know they were into hip hop at the same time.
There's a lot of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Now that we're older, I'm like, now, oh my God, I remember you from back in the day and seeing you and yeah.
But we used to play football together. But you're an MC or you're a DJ, like, oh, dad, I never knew if we knew that,
Yeah.
So High State, they kind of, it felt out. When I first met Danny One, it felt like he was like the elder statesman that kind of created this whole new wave, and he brought in all the Nakas, the Hunaka cats, which is High State, and then they had their sub crews, Sixth Sense and VM.
Right.
Shout the
Vandal's
Buzz.
Minds.
Yeah, so that was like, to me, when I first met them, because we're the same age, but I grew up all over the place, and I went to Kamehameha, which we had no hip hop at the time. And
you guys had all the poppers.
That was older.
Yeah.
In the 90s, when I came in, there was like, I felt when I got there at Kamehameha, which I'm dating myself in 90, I was like you. I stood out like a sore thumb. Baggiest pants and headphones, beanie, and I looked around like, dude, I'm not in public school anymore. So I was searching like, who else is down? I'm like, nobody's. And I just felt outcasted back then, but now it's like the cool thing, right? Like,
of course, everybody wants to be a rapper.
Yeah, and all my friends went to Kalani, which a lot of the Nakas went to. They went to McKinley, Kaimaki,
right,
and a lot of them went to Roosevelt,
right,
and Kaiser.
Kaiser went.
Yeah.
Where did Tasha go? Kaiser?
Tasha went to Kalani.
Kalani?
Yeah, Kalani. So what was your role at High State? Or you?
Kind of close to Danny being like elder statesman. So Danny brought me in. Danny did a lot of their production before. Like Mr. Rios was doing stuff, but they were recording with Danny. And I remember meeting them one time at Danny's house, and we'd all be friends and everything. And when they knew I had my studio, they were like, "We want to step our game up and record better." And that's kind of how they were a client of mine at first. And then I was like, man, I really love your guys' music. I want to be a part of this. Like, let's do this. I'm going to put your guys' music out. I'm going to record you and you guys distribute it how you want to, but I want to be a part of what's going on. Be part of the creative process and everything. And it kind of worked out well. I ended up, because of them, buying more gear for my studio and investing more into that and being like, hey, at the time I told my wife, I was like, all this gig I'm getting, all this gig money, I'm going to put this back into the studio and I'm going to open up a facility. So I ended up moving into my friend's storage, which was, he had a cell phone store, Richie Aki, word up to my homie Richie Aki, who had his cell phone store back in the day, and was like, I'm closing my store. Do you want to take over my lease? It's $500. I'll pay for the other $100 for, storage. Yeah. And I'm like, cool, let's do it. Took it over and did that from.
And then High State would come through and record.
Yeah.
Is that they recorded all the first demos and stuff?
Yeah. So I have like a version of Honolulu, the first version of Honolulu that has everybody on it, which is amazing. But I don't know, hopefully.
Wait, Honolulu with everybody on it?
Yes.
So wait, wow, I never heard this before.
Off air, I'll play it for you. I have it on my phone.
That's crazy. I mean, for people that don't know, as we get into this, we're getting into Tasho Pierce, Immerse, right? So Honolulu is probably, I consider it the one track, and Tasho himself, that kind of broke through for Hawaii.
It's our New York State of mind, like Nas's, or Jay-Z's Empire. Yeah. It's our version of that.
Right.
For Honolulu.
So you're telling me there was a version with all the Humanakas on it?
Yes.
Wow.
The beat sounds different.
Right. Size One did the beat.
I believe Mr. Rios did the beat for this one.
The old. Would you say it's the remix then? Or?
Size's one would be the remix of it.
Oh wow.
which
Wow.
is, I mean, Size is technically the original because the
Original,
other one never really
right.
saw the light of day, other than
Wow.
our like family.
So if you're like a Hawaiʻi hip hop head, you're bugging out right now. I mean, I am.
Yeah.
I never heard this, and I've known you so long.
I've
the fact
played
that
it.
there's a
I played it out
crazy.
maybe twice, and I'm like drunk, and you're like, "Hey, check this
did
out."
anybody be like
Technique is like,
Tech-
because Tech and I always DJ
yeah,
together.
Tech
Like
is the only guy.
our Thursday night party, and we're
Yeah.
just like play some stuff we never heard.
Does he have it? Did you give it
No.
to Tech? You didn't even give it to Tech.
There's a lot of stuff I don't give out. I mean, if people ask me for some stuff, I'm like, cool, yeah, I'll give it to you.
Right.
But the stuff that I know that needs to stay exclusive, I'm gonna hold on to.
Wow.
I would give it to Tech, and he'd be like, play it when you think it's appropriate.
Tech will play the most underground. That's why I love Technique.
Yeah.
And we'll have him on the podcast as well. He is, I guess you could say, the byproduct of all of us.
Yes.
He can float to the mainstream and do the most mainstream parties. He can do drum and bass. He can do trap. And then he'll come back to the underground and he'll play tracks that I never let no one hear, and he has it.
Right.
I'm like, wait, is that's me. Wait, what are you doing, dude? I'll be like, yo, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He'd be laughing, like, stop playing that. Like,
You know what? He like you hit the nail on the head. He is a mixture of everybody.
Yeah.
He's taken in everything like a sponge.
yeah.
And he's an
Amazing.
incredible DJ.
But anyway, DJing. So you started DJing, doing more stuff for Tasho.
Yeah. So like, well, Tasho and Size was the DJ. I ended up being Tasho's like hype man
Okay.
for once in a while. And then from Humanakas, they broke off. Tasha was like, I want to do my own album.
Right.
We were having all these problems with
Crew.
the crew problems, you know, within the crew, and somebody would mess up, somebody would do this, somebody would do that. And it was just a funky time for that high state, you know?
Yeah.
And Tasho did his own thing. Todd G did his
Yep,
own thing. I've done,
Invisible
multiple
Ink
songs.
did their own thing.
Yeah. So I wasn't with Invisible Ink
Right.
at that time. And like they came in, that's the tail end of right when I started to help them and
Right.
do work with them.
So real quick, people, High State would be considered like the Wu-Tang of Hawaii.
Yeah.
I mean, personality-wise, skill-wise, individually, they all could hold their own.
Yes.
And they rolled deep. Like, to me, they are Hawaii hip-hop.
Like to me back then, there was like two main
Right.
crews that were, it was
And this is about 94.
94, 95.
95,
It was
96, yeah.
the Abyss.
Yes.
Like their, drama,
Abyss, a lot-
Sub-Zero.
Yeah, a lot of military cats
yeah.
combined with a lot of local
Yeah.
brothers that moved here, all clicked up.
Respect to them, you know what I mean? They all did their thing. It was like, the factions of who
Yeah.
did what, you know what I mean? And it was good. It was, to me, I thought this was a good time for hip hop. You know what I mean? We had people that did one like genre of music in a sense, or one style of hip hop and another style of hip hop. Like, yeah, I
I got a crazy story. I was at a Comic-Con in San Diego, and I was a vendor selling shirts. This black dude rolls up, the woman on his arms, all G'd up, right? We're talking story. He's digging the clothes. He's like, hey, man, where you from? I was like, Hawaii. I'm like, he's like, oh, right on, man. He's like, oh, yeah, you guys into hip-hop? I'm like, yeah, hip-hop, yeah. And then we started talking, and then we started talking about radio. And I was like, oh, yeah, I did a radio show, in Hawaii. He's like, oh, wait, I heard of that before. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm down with the Abyss. And I was like, what? I think he called up either Master Fu or he called up somebody. He's like, yo, this ninja knows you. He called them up right there, dude. And they're like talking to me. And I was like, hey, man, what's up? You remember me, Cat? And they're like, and we had a quick
moment.
flashback moment.
Yeah, that's great.
So this guy used to roll with the Abyss in Hawaii. But he was more like, because they rolled deep.
Right.
Back to your point, you had the Abyss rolling mad deep.
Right.
You had High State mad deep. And then on High State, all of us fringe guys, had in habitats. And then
Right.
me and my crew and all the rest of the hip hop heads was, technically down for that.
Of course.
And it was like a big, how would you say, like a creative clash almost?
Yeah, there was everybody that wanted to, have their voice heard and be, here and there and there. It was.
Were you there at KTUH? when
I
the
was
fight
not
broke
at
out?
the KTUH fight when that broke out. I lived in the neighborhood.
Right,
though.
right.
It's down the hill in Mo'iliili, but yeah.
I came like right after.
Yeah, I heard about it like the next day
Right.
at Danny's. And like,
guns were pulled or gun was pulled.
I had no idea of
Something
that,
like-
but I remember like people getting knocked out and like
Yeah.
this and that, and I was like, wow, that's crazy.
But everybody survived, and we
Yeah.
have to tell about it.
Yeah.
So you started working with Tasho, but before we get into Tasho's solo career, you also helped him with Flip the Bird.
Yes.
Talk to us about Flip the Bird.
Flip the Bird. I was a head T-shirt folder.
Yes, I am
Somebody got
that.
to put the T-shirts in the box. Check the numbers. Taco, make sure all of these shirts are folded. These go to this place in Boston. This place goes to here and there. Yeah.
But you were there from the antithesis from the beginning of.
So yeah,
Flip
I mean,
the Bird.
Tasho's Flip the Bird. I mean, it's his baby, man, his brainchild. He was like, Flip the Bird is a record label, and the very first shirts were to promote his Rhyme and Punishment album, and it started from there, and it just went with the original white on black
Right.
on a shirt. I believe the first shirt was a long sleeve shirt,
Wow.
if I can remember, or it had the
Upside down
the
bird,
logo,
yeah.
and I think it on the back it had like Tasho Pierce or Immerse Rhyme and Punishment.
Wow. I didn't know. I thought he started it before then. So it's actually to promote Rhyme and Punishment.
Yeah,
And then he just kind of took it with
and
him.
it just like the Gucci once he did the Gucci Bird
Yeah.
logo, it kind of just like took off because it was just like different colorways
Right.
of the bird, and then it took off from there with that Gucci Bird. Like everybody was like, "Whoa, I need that shirt."
At the same time, he was pushing his music, he's pushing his shirts.
Yeah,
And then were you there when he linked up with Kanye at the studio?
I was never there at Kanye in the studio. I mean, the only time that when we opened for Kanye,
Yeah, right.
you know, I was DJing and helping him. Well, did Size DJ that or did I? I can't remember. Either Size or I DJ that show.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I was on stage
Right.
and throwing out T-shirts to the crowd, and we gave Kanye like a stack of shirts
Right.
in the back, and he was like, "Yo, these are fresh."
And
Like,
then was it him that wore the hip hop logo
he wore
one?
the '90s All Star
Yeah.
shirt at a Wango Tango in LA, and that like set it off. Everybody was like, "Where's this shirt from?" Blah 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 blah. Like, yeah. I think that the next Magic show that Tasho did, Tasho brought out like a big poster of that Kanye wearing it, and everybody was like eating it up. Like that was like a big order for like a lot of his shirts, and had to be
So
sent out.
it was like Flip the Bird started entertainment, or was it entertainment and then it kind of evolved?
It
to
more
clothing?
went to entertainment than the clothing, and I still stuck with more of the entertainment, and he stuck with more of the clothing. So like the entertainment side, I was recording whoever we had like on our little label at the time, Creed and Pre and One did all his own stuff and just put it out under Flip the Bird.
So all
but-
those names that you're saying, it brings me to the point of why don't, with Tasho technically making the New York State of Mind or that song for Hawaii with Honolulu,
Mm-hmm.
why hasn't it been, it's not duplicated, but why hasn't the next person ever stepped up or
to make a new one.
not make a new one, but has broke the barrier that we have over Hawaii, like the South, right? They have their pidgin
They're
English.
right,
They have their own sound. Everybody bites the South,
right.
It's without the South, hip hop wouldn't have moved forward. We're
Yeah.
stuck, right? Straight up, right? I didn't really care for it at first, and I got started to understand it. And
One
I'm
of my
like,
favorite producers is from the South. You know
Who's
what I
your
mean? Like
favorite? Who's
Manny
Oh,
Fresh.
yeah.
I think honestly, he's in my top 5.
Yeah.
Like I always loved his drums. Like
right.
so crazy.
But I look at them, I'm like, dude, they did it. They had their own Southern drawl,
Yeah.
own style of beats. Talk about their own lingo. Talk about their hoods and neighborhoods.
You know what it
and
is?
what is it that we cannot break that? What is it, Taco? Tell me, please.
I think it's more of the thing of there's a lot of people that don't want to be like or give it up to the next person or give it. Oh my
Right.
God, that dude is dope. Or this. Everybody wants in hip hop. You always want to be. I'm doper than you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. There's always that braggadocious aspect of it where you're like, I'm this dude. You're that dude. You know, we're not on the same level. I see like I've always said this: the crab in the bucket theory in Hawaii. Everybody wants to be that dude. No one wants to help each other, bring each other up. I think if we want, like once again, if we all had that mentality, like now that we're older, like yeah, man, I want everybody to shine.
right.
And I think that would help out everybody. Like if there was one person to pick to say, hey, Creed is just going to be this guy, or IA is going to be this
Right.
guy we bring up this month and we all help promote.
Yeah.
You know, we take that time to be like, these are the 5, 6, 7 steps that we need to do to make this song blow up, or, you know, that album blow up. Let's do that. Like, the local music scene has always had a great backing
Right.
through local radio.
Okay.
Hawaii radio has never really supported
Hawaii
anybody. Hawaii hip hop.
Right.
And even Tasho, with one of the best songs,
Yeah.
you know, that had a commercial viability,
100%.
like, never really took off. You know what I mean? Like,
So mainstream radio never took to it and said, we're going to push this.
we played Honolulu on I-94. Well, it was 93.9, whatever it was back then, for maybe about a month, and it would only get played at night. You know what I mean? Never got the
Yeah.
it never got the exposure I thought it should have gotten.
When is the prime time hours for music?
10
Radio.
a.m. to like, I would say 7 or 8 p.m.
Right. Traffic.
You know what I mean? And like, radio is pretty much programmed
Yeah.
on an hour to 20-minute basis. So all of your top songs in pop radio, they're gonna hit you with those in that. That's why you hear the same songs so many times a day.
Yeah.
You know, it's all programmed like that. So, but if a song like Honolulu was thrown in a rotation like that, everybody would know that song right
Yeah,
now.
honestly.
It would be in Hawaii commercials. It'd be in Hawaii movies. You know,
It should be pushed by like the tourist industry.
and the only reason why it's not, and we've never put it out there, we had somebody that was working with us and helping manage Tasho in the mainland. This guy Hakeem owns the rights to Honolulu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we've never pushed it that way.
Okay.
But I got something up my sleeve.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks to Taylor Swift, I got something under my sleeve.
Oh, whoa. Taylor Swift made the podcast.
Yes.
How is that? We're
How's
going
that?
all the way
Well,
up.
so somebody bought the rights to like one of her albums, right?
Okay.
She's re-released that album
Right.
with different titles to the songs. I believe most of them are different titles or whatever, and it's a new release of the same material, but redone a little bit.
Right.
So you
So
might
how
see.
does the homie have the rights to Honolulu? Is that a
He
question
was.
for Tasho?
That's a question to Tasho. Yeah, when he's on. Yeah. Well, he did all of the marketing, and Hakeem did a lot of stuff
Right.
for all of us at that time, and we had a falling out, and yeah, you live and learn.
So
in this music business.
what is the future for Hawaii hip hop then? What is the next? I've been asking you this question like every decade.
It's hard to say, man. Like I want to come out and support a lot of stuff, but you know, in the age, I can't come out all the time and be at everything. But I see a lot of kids doing their stuff. I still see, what is his name? Why can't I think? Like, I see Jim Hurdle doing stuff still.
Yeah.
I love what Jim
Creed's
does.
hella active.
Yeah,
I mean,
Creed is-
they're not even old school, but technically they are now.
yeah.
So, you know, of course, Angry Locals are doing their thing still. Yeah.
Oh,
you
my
know,
God,
Hurdle's
yes.
doing his thing. You know what I mean? Quali's to extent doing his thing.
Qualified is who I was trying to think of.
Yeah, Qualified.
The mind that he has, and
Yeah.
to listen to what he does, he's like one of my favorite
Oh,
artists. I want to say like him, and the work ethic that like Osna has,
Right.
because Os is like all over the place,
Yeah,
DJing gigs, filming stuff, producing stuff, rapping still. He's like
Right.
all over.
Because you got IA still doing his thing.
Oh yeah,
Heavy. Creed. I mean, IA and Creed, hands down, right off, straight off the jump. They're like putting out quality.
yeah.
Music.
And there's a lot of people that need to put out their music more.
Yeah.
My son produces, and I'm like, put it out. Or, you know,
That's always been the case with, in general. I always tell people, what are you doing? Just put it out. Who
Yeah.
cares? Who cares? You can't care.
my
'Cause
son has
nobody's-
this flip that he did with a Rebel Soldier song, and I'm like, yo, like, put that out, like, do
Yeah,
that something
yeah.
with that. And then like Spaz's son Jojo
Oh, yeah.
produces. He does a lot of stuff now
Yeah,
with Creed,
man.
and
Yeah, dude.
yeah.
He's on the right path, definitely, for sure.
it's JP's son is DJ now also. His
The
name
next
is
generation.
it's the next generation of all our kids. It's crazy to see.
That's
like-
awesome. Because then, I don't know how it can't be dope. I feel like I had to skip the generation.
Yeah,
Like, because they're kids. So, like, you know, like JP's kids, JoJo, all
Right.
those cats. Feels like there was a generation before them that might have got lost.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
now these kids have a mixture of everything plus what not to do. I feel,
yeah.
and hopefully they can take the torch, because between you and me, like, man, I think felt like we did as much as we could to like give, right?
We
and
have.
continue too. You know,
Yeah.
All we can do is hope and pray that the next generation pushes it.
You know what? I know they will. I think, you know, as local kids, we always have that. There's always been that, I'll get this done tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or, you know, even myself, you know what I mean? Nah, maybe it's not too good. Or
You think the Hawaii laid back mentality has
Yes.
a big effect on why Hawaii hip hop has not broken through that ceiling?
Yeah, a lot.
The hang loose, oh, next time I'll do it. Nah, no one gonna like hear them. Nah, maybe
Right.
not. Like,
I mean, I've done it myself. Like, I've been like, sat there and made a beat all day and be like, nah, and just delete it. Or like, I probably have like 80 or 90 beats on my MPC that have never seen the light of day. Size has heard them. Maybe Tasha's heard a couple. Like, I don't really play too much stuff for a lot of people.
because I know you got heat, but you've never been out there be like, I am a producer.
It's more of just me wanting to like have fun. Like sitting at my MPC with my headphones on is, which I rarely do now
Right.
anyway, but that's always been like my release to myself in the studio. And then I have other people come in
Right.
and I'm like, oh my God, like I can't do anything like this. I've never made a song like that.
Yeah. Off top of the dome, top 3 Hawaii producers, and why?
Size, number one, definitely. I mean, Chris J, and Laiku as a team. Man, Mr. Rios is like always like been dope too, but I gotta say like Michael Grande, like
Michael Grande.
yeah,
Doesn't he ring a bell?
he's been like a keyboard player, producer. He's produced a lot of stuff, and as well as, why can't I think of other homie's name who's a Kamehameha graduate that's produced like local music for years.
Oh, wow.
Man, I can't think of homie's name. It'll pop into my mind later, but
Look at it.
yeah,
Top 5 Hawaii MCs.
wow.
In no specific order.
In no
so no one gets
specific
hurt.
order?
I'd rather have people be like, yo, I want to be Tacos 1. Straight off the dome, just give it to us.
Tasho, I've always liked Buzz's voice.
Yeah. Buzz is ill.
Like how he comes in with stuff. It's like, you know, all over the place. And
Well, a quick story about Buzz. I met Buzz in a cypher one time. And I was like, who the hell is this? And it was just like, this guy's on like some, like it really was some
Yeah.
alien technology, alien transmitting. And I'm like, this guy's like the illest, like the illest. And he was nonstop.
yeah,
If you guys don't know what it is, a cypher bully. Yeah, he was a cypher bully, meaning like when the rhymes would go around the cypher, he would not let you breathe.
right.
He would not give it back.
It's hard, man, to do the top 3 because there's like
Top 5.
Because there's
off
like
the dome, off the
Omega.
dome. Yeah, 6 is sick.
You know what I mean? Like, and freestyle wise, I gotta really give it up to Osna. You know what I mean? Like Os is like so creative after watching their battles.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy. A crazy story is I very first heard like Osna's beats.
Right.
Well, he did an album for Spaz, and when we started to work with Creed was like, "Oh, Osna's going to produce my whole album,"
Right.
and I was like, "No, he's not." He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Bro, like I heard the album he did for Spaz. Like, I don't want to hear like none of those beats like on a Flip the Bird project."
Right.
I mean, because I was, you know, I want this to be
Flip the bird.
a Flip the Bird, a hip hop album.
Right.
I didn't think the beats at that time that he made for Spaz were like anything. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna bring the beats over to your studio. Let's listen to them." Came to my studio, and I was like, "This is Osna," and he's like, "Yeah," and I was like, every single beat, I was like,
Yo.
"Oh, I'm sorry, bro. Like, Os, I'll tell you right now, I'm sorry that I thought about that back then. Yo, you're
No,
sick."
I think we all did. Like
Yeah.
he knows it too, right?
Yeah,
But like once you get to know him, and I think he's just a hustler, man. And he's
Yeah.
a sponge.
Yeah.
That guy is a savant.
Yeah.
Idiot savant. Like literally, like he just like his brain.
Yeah.
It's not he's funny, but that funny is almost like a defense for how smart he is.
Yeah.
And like lyrically, he sent me beats because we did a track together and never made the light of day. And I was like, what the heck? And I was like, yo, Osna got beats. And it's like he can do no wrong. So
If there was ever a time to put your shoe in your mouth, that was a time.
No, I will always give people their props. I would be the first guy to be like.
To me, that's like the biggest person that I feel like I need to give his props to. Like well as yourself, man. Like, you know, back in the day, there was always this like we said earlier, there was like this high state. There was all of the Viet, like everybody had their thing where we were like, we're this side, we're that side, we're doing this. And we all butted heads on whatever it would be. Man, I was always like, Kavet's got his amazing lane that he's in, and he's got like, man, I loved what you guys were doing with Light Sleepers and everything.
It was definitely at the time. It was just the era. It just had to. It was what it was called for at the time. It was all spontaneous, but that was the '90s. I feel. Yeah. And it definitely opened up doors for weirdos, different people.
Hey, everybody loves different music in whatever form it is, and everybody's diversity is what makes this.
But that's
so
what
great.
made it good. You know what I mean? I felt like, and you know, and there was some static in between, like, you know, High State and like, you know, a bunch of the cats that I rolled with, you know what I mean? And I'm like in between it because I'm down with State. Right. And now Tasha's the homie. Everybody's the homie to me, right? Right. And I'm trying to like, you know, volley for the young kids coming up, rapping 100 beats per minute, right? Right. That crazy abstract. But the funny part is that I don't know if Tasha them knew, everybody knew. They were fans. Of
everybody loved each other, but nobody wanted to be like, we love each other. Nobody wanted to give each other their props back then, you know?
Some of the masculinity of hip hop was like, we didn't want to show our sensitive side.
Yeah, now we're like, come here.
Let's do it. We're 20 years late. Let's do it. Right. But I mean, so top 5 DJs in Hawaii. Any genre, just quick. Yeah.
DJs in Hawaii, Excel, Compose, Delve, Technique. Man, there's a lot of DJs in Hawaii now that are like, man, amazing. It's one of my good friends now lives in Hawaii, from the mainland. Vice lives here.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. And he still travels all over the place, like weekly. Right. But now calls Hawaii his home. So
real quick, top 5 writers, real quick. East can't be hip hop without
East Catch, Woes, Slick. I know I'm probably missing somebody else, but you know, all of the other old school cats that used to get up and, you know.
Okay, before we close out the podcast, give us one gem or jewel.
One gem or jewel.
Drop us the diamond here. I want to hear something from the mind of Jimmy Taco.
From the mind of Jimmy Taco. I mean, I've never rapped, so I don't want to start. I wouldn't do good on any other podcast where you're supposed to rap at the end.
Yeah. No freestyles.
I would say never sleep on yourself, man. Like, just be confident in what you do and love what you do. If your heart isn't in it, then don't do it. I mean, if your heart's in whatever you want to do, yeah. Actually, you know what comes to mind is my freshman year in college, I had a what do you call it? The dorm advisor or whatever.
Dorm advisor, yeah.
Yeah, gave me this quote, wrote down for me, and it was like, "It's not what you are that holds you back. It's what you think you are not." I know it's a famous quote by somebody, but that's always stuck with me.
DJ Jimmy Taco said it. That's how famous it is.
Shh. We'll leave it at that.
It burnt your brain to a point you literally remember.
Right. I mean, that's one of the only things I've remembered throughout my life. I mean, it's always helped me through a lot of stuff when there's like hard times or whatever. It's like, pick yourself up. It's not what you don't think you are. You can do it. So that's what's up.
That's what's up. I'd like to thank DJ Jimmy Taco. You can catch him out and about. What's your socials?
Most of them are at DJ_Jimmy_Taco.
I'd like to thank Jimmy Taco for coming through ALANUI MELE on PBS Hawaii. And that's it. Like I always say, Don't sleep.
Yeah, don't sleep.
Mahalo for listening to Alanui Mele on PBS Hawaii. Introduction beat by Just One O. You can listen to Alanui Mele on all streaming platforms and check us on social media at PBS Hawaii or www.pbshawaii.org.